Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So we are leaving Taurus 2 and we are going into Taurus 3. I can already, the way that these cards interacted and played over the last 10 days has been insane. There's just been a lot of stuff happening and going on. And sorry, I was just doing a reading for a customer and I left that on the table. Let me get it out of the way so it doesn't get confused in things. All right, so the way that this has been interacting and playing in my life the last 10 days has been insane. There was a wonderful thing that has happened for me and my husband, but it was clouded with mystery and not really knowing what's going on or what's happening or when it's going to happen or what's even going to happen. And then sticking to kind of like I was struggling to find the hierophant in this situation, but I feel like it was just kind of I kind of think I know how it fits into the equation. I can't really say it because it kind of goes into like a bunch of personal information, but I'm pretty sure I figured out how that fits into the equation. But definitely these two were very much huge aspects of the last 10 days and things that have happened. So let's get in here. Let's change these cards out and start looking at all the new stuff that's coming forward. We are in the last decan of Taurus. So the next video, all this stuff will be changing. A bunch of cards will be changing. But for right now, we're only changing these ones right here. So we are leaving the Six of Pentacles behind, that lovely, amazing energy. And we are going into the Seven of Pentacles. We are leaving the High Priestess behind and moving into the World. Our Moon card is leaving with the High Priestess, and Saturn is coming in to join us. And then we are going to change out these two cards as well, the Hermetic Tarot cards. So here's our Seven of Pentacles, which is Lord of Success Unfulfilled. And then we have the Universe, and it's the Great One of the Night of Time. That is a really interesting title. All right, let me get these out of the way so we don't get these confused in here. And then we also have some changing going on these extra cards that are off to the side. I'm not really going into depth with them and I'm not really going too far into them. I've brought them in because they are in Susan Chang's wheel and I want them to be present. However, I feel that they can kind of overcomplicate things. So they're here and they're present, but I'm just not going to go into them too deep because I feel like I said they can really overcomplicate things. But I want them to be here for those of you that maybe want to tap into that a little bit of that extra energy. And we are changing out the ace. We are changing out the Knight of Pentacles, which will now be becoming the King of Swords. So let's do that. So that Knight of Pentacles is now gone. And we are bringing in the King of Swords, which is Prince of the Chariots of the Wind. Look at that card. It's crazy. There's a lot going on in there. We'll read about it. And here's our RW Knight. And here is, everybody knows the King of Swords, right? So now that's the new energy that's in place for the next couple decans. But the Ace of Pentacles is still happening and the Page of Pentacles or Princess of Pentacles is still in place. All right, there we go. We've got everything changed out. So for those of you who do not own Susan Chang's book, I do refer to it quite a bit. Obviously, that's the system we're following. I absolutely adore the way that she words things, the content that she puts it into. it makes so much sense, and I have so many like aha moments when reading her book, especially with this. So the 7 of Pentacles is one of those cards where you're kind of like what's he doing? We kind of default to evaluating or waiting or watching the seeds that we've planted, right? And that's kind of what I've always kind of defaulted to tell you the truth. But after reading Susan's part about or chapter about this card in this Decan, it's really, really, really has kind of really changed things for me. And once again, I can already see how this is going to be fitting into and kind of showing up in my life in the next 10 days, roughly, right? Give or take. It's amazing. I'm absolutely blown away how close my life and the events that take place in my life and how they are so connected to the tarot system. It's insane. Which, I mean, a lot of it has to do with astrology as well, too, right? A lot of people don't give astrology the credit that it deserves. We are literally little beings on a planet that is being controlled and manipulated and whatever you want to say by this solar system that exists around us and these planets that exist around us. And the thing that absolutely astonishes me is how this system, this astrology, and the connection to the gods and goddesses and the things that it does, it has been in place for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, like, it just blows my mind that our ancient ones were able to connect into and understand the energies and the association and the control that these planets have over us on Earth. And I find it astounding. So, if anything, this is really, really, really concreted in the fact of how much astrology has control over our day-to-day lives, and then how the tarot, the system was built around that, and how that connects right straight in. It blows my mind. So enough of my rambling about mind-blowing subjects, and let's get in here and check this out. Like I said, the 7 of Pentacles is insane to me now. When I look at it, it's no longer that like waiting and watching the harvest that you planted and waiting for your things to show up and, watching and seeing how they're growing and maturing and what's going on, right? Now it's like it's still kind of waiting, but in a different concept, right? It's more of that waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and it being a slow moving energy. In Susan's book, she talks about the Eight of Wands as opposed to the Seven of Pentacles, and how the Eight of Wands is a quick moving in energy, where the Seven of Pentacles is this slow moving energy that takes forever to click and fall into place. And I think that that's insane to me. And I love in her book how she talks about this wreath around this figure on the world. And she talks about these intersections here and how it's like almost like an Ouroboros, right? Or she says Versica Pisces, which is sacred geometry, how it's that continuous. More specifically, it was the Ouroboros that really stuck with me. How it's that continuously cycle, like something has to end for something new to begin. And I mean, I always kind of thought that of the world, but just when she puts it into that perspective of the wreath being an Ouroboros, I was like, oh my God. Like I never even thought about that. Like mind blowing, right? So insane. Um I want to talk a little bit about the ace of, or the, I keep saying ace. I'm sorry. It's because the Ace of Pentacles is hanging out over here. The Seven of Pentacles. Let's get into Susan's book. There's just some really cool key things that really stuck out to me that I really wanted to make sure that I touch on because they're amazing. So she talks about how this is the first time we've been faced with the mysteries of Saturn, which we know as Father Time. And I thought that that was interesting how we have Saturn in place, and then we talk about how slow moving the energy of this card is, right? And I feel like it's just like, it's such a Saturn thing, right? To just have everything going so slow. And then we're looking at the Lord of Success Unfulfilled as well too, right? So it's just so interesting to me. I don't the Lord of Success Unfulfilled I think is a kind of a weird wording because when I look at the RW, he's got it growing. He's got things happening. So is it unfulfilled? Maybe not, just taking a lot longer. So I don't know, but we're going to get in here and we'll read about this. All right, so we've got Saturn's reputation is twofold. God of agriculture and fertility on one hand, and then God of endings and destruction on the other, right? And then we've got obviously the concept of time happening. So it talks about how he's an earth god, and it is part of his nature that what is planted grows, but also what dies is buried. We begin and end in earth. So I think that that's really interesting how we're looking at this now, where it's like, okay, well, we've planted them and they're growing, but if it the things that don't grow, the things that don't take, we tilt in back into the earth, back into the ground, right? It's a really interesting concept. And it makes me wonder if these fields that are kind of behind him, they look a little barren in a way. And it's like just this one patch is doing well, where maybe the rest isn't doing so hot. I don't know, just kind of something that popped into my mind when I was looking at the cards. I might be completely wrong. This might be a beautiful, fertile, lush, growing land behind him. But to me, it kind of looks empty and it kind of looks like there's not much happening. And in Susan's book, she talks about how the sacred doubt, the Five of Pentacles, so Taurus 1, the fives and sevens are inverses of each other. In the five, the Lord of Worry, we anticipate and try to foretell disaster. In the seven of the Lord of Failure, we assess and try to remediate what has gone wrong. And for one brief moment in the sixes that we just moved out of, we see the miracle that takes place when we get it exactly right. Life takes root and thrives. So when we're looking at the figure on the card, Susan mentions how, like, the farmer's expression doesn't really, it feels weird, right? He's just kind of looking at the plants. He's not, it's kind of it's an odd expression. And is it laziness? Is it fatigue? Is it distraction? Is it contentment? Is it discouragement? Like it's kind of like what is it? When I look at it, to me he looks tired. Like if I was to sit there and look at it, to me he looks tired and like he's just like, "Come on, grow, like hurry up. Let's get some things accomplished here. Like I'm tired of waiting on you." And I kind of feel like that's like my own personal thoughts of the energy of the card. And then she goes on to talk about how in different things that she's perceived in her life and different situations that happened with her father and different things like that, that then kind of made this card start to make sense to her. And she talks about how the feeling behind this card to her was it's the time to do this now, but the job is so daunting. How can I ever finish it? Yet how will I ever succeed if I do not, right? So I understand that feeling of that like overwhelm where it's like, oh, like how do I make this happen? Like now's the time to do it. I have to do it now, but how do I do this? How do I get this done? Because of it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of effort that had to go into this planting of these pentacles, right? Like this, and like she says in the book, it's like that energy of this is taking forever. It's taking forever for this to happen and to fall into place. And I totally, like, I'm already feeling the energy of this card, because what I told you came into place for us with the Six of Pentacles. It's like this, it's like this long stretch before it actually falls into place, and it's like a couple weeks, and it feels like it's going to take forever. It feels like that moment will never arrive for us. And I feel this Seven of Pentacles huge that way. So in Susan's book, she also talks about how she drew this card in 1909. Her illustrations seem to coincide and depict the potato famine of the 1840s, when late blight infested the fields and caused mass starvation. The blight fungus causes tuber cell walls of the potatoes to collapse, leading to rot. A Saturn pathology, if ever there was one. How the potatoes just collapsed in on themselves and just ceased to exist, right? So it's really interesting that they feel that when she drew this card, she was depicting that time where everything just then started to collapse and fall in on itself. The potatoes looked like they were going good and everything looked awesome, but underneath the ground, the potatoes, the tubers, the part that we eat, right? The potato tubers, they just were collapsing and rotting under the ground. So everything was looking good, but really it wasn't, right? That's quite a different way to look at the energy of this card. Back to the Eight of Wands card, she talks about how the Eight of Wands gives us a speedy delivery of goods through global systems, right? But the Seven of Pentacles demands a slow, painstaking individual effort, which is crazy. I never looked at the card like that before, right? And but that's why we're doing this, is because this is just shedding such a different light on these cards and the pictures in these cards and what they're saying. But with that, like she says, with that being said, slow, painstaking individual effort is important too. And you can use the Seven of Pentacles somber gifts to earn rewards that the fun by flighty Eight of Wands can never guarantee, right? So that whole, if it comes too fast, it might not last, right? But that taking a long time and building something, things that last forever take a long time to build, a long time to achieve, a long time to do, right? But those are usually the things that last forever. So once again, kind of that energy happening, right? Where it might be horrible, it might take forever, and it might seem like it's taking a million years, but when we get through it all and we get to the end of it, those things are usually the things that stay. Amazing concept on those cards. So she says when she's received the Seven of Pentacles, it's like the traffic slowdowns and dumb mistakes that were time consuming to fix. Quite often, the things that need fixing is results of not having done it right in the first place. So things you kind of rushed through, things that you kind of knew that you weren't doing correctly but didn't really care. You just wanted to get it done. Other times, much needed repairs have finally come through. Like the Five of Pentacles, Seven Pentacles brings timing issues, but more having to do with personal negligence than breakdowns in communication. And she says, the one thing I've learned about working with the Seven of Pentacles is patience, and a good plan B is essential. So just having your plan A, B, and C, right? So if A fails, you got B, and if B fails, you got C. So that's kind of the energy that's going to be coming into place for the next 10 days or so. And she says the takeaway, when you get the Seven of Pentacles, take your time and scrutinize whatever you're working on intently for flaws. Remember Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will, and draw on past lessons learned to remedy accidents due to oversight or neglect. Be skeptical of fate and make use of your contingency plans. Should everything go sideways, call it a learning experience. And it's kind of like whatever goes wrong will, right? And that's really unfortunate that that's the energy that's going to be coming forward. But we know that now. So now we can kind of plan, right? We can kind of make sure that we have a couple plans in place and we don't have to worry about anything. But that whole like whatever goes wrong can and will, I don't even want to deal with that energy to tell you the truth. I'm so done with it. And like I kind of like looked forward, like skipped ahead, and the next two or three cards that are coming are not pleasant. So the tower would be one of those, and I'm not pumped about that. I do not like the tower. Me, when the tower shows up in my readings, I'm like, crap, like serious? Like I do not want to deal with this today. All right, so this is kind of the energy that's going on in the next 10 days. Let's get into these books and check out and read about our new stuff. Let's look at the Hermetic Tarot first. So we're looking at the universe. All right, the Great One of the Night of Time. So it talks about this card is attributed to Saturn, whose sign appears on the double-headed eagle. Okay, let's get this up here and get this focused. And you guys can look at it while I'm reading. This card is attributed to Saturn, whose sign appears on the double-headed eagle, and it was represented by the two sickles. The background of the card, Sun, Moon, and Stars, represent the ever-expanding, ever-changing universe. In the middle of the card at the left, the sign of Taurus, represented by the bull. The sign of Leo, the lion, appears to the right, and the man at the bottom suggests Aquarius. The eagle of Scorpio above completes the four signs. Oh, so we're getting these figures here, right? That's what's happening. Let me see if I can see these. There's the Leo sign. So here's sorry, wrong finger. It's the inappropriate finger. So there's Leo right there, right? And then we have Taurus right here. So we've got the Taurus and the lion. The man at the bottom right here suggests Aquarius. Okay. And then the eagle of Scorpio. So I'm believing that they're talking about the two-headed eagle up here. Must be what they're talking about. All right, so we've got, if we look at this right here, let's compare. We've got the man, so there's your Aquarius, oops, sorry. The man, there's your Aquarius. The eagle, the eagles right there. The bull is right there, Taurus. And the lion right there is Leo. So if you ever wondered what these four creatures are in the corner of the world, the RWs, the world card, that's what it is. That's what it's depicting, and that's what it's bringing forward. Now we have the cosmic thing here where he said the sun, moon, and stars. We're not seeing the sun and moon stars on this, but it is in this area right here happening. Well, there's the sun, there's the moon, and here's all the stars in here. Really interesting. Super cool. All right, let's get on to the Seven of Pentacles here. All right, so here is our Seven of Pentacles. So this is Lord of Success Unfulfilled. A hand from a small group of clouds clutches the branches of several roses. Only 5 roses overhang, but they droop and do not touch the pentacles. No other buds are shown, and none are touching or close to the 2 lower pentacles. The pentacles suggest wheels in motion, unfulfilled success. So that's what they're saying. So here you have the sign of Saturn, or Taurus, and at the top the same. Here are your roses. They're not doing anything. They're just hanging out and they're not touching anything, right? A very different feeling, I feel, than the Seven of Pentacles. I still feel the Seven of Pentacles in the RW has a little bit more of a positive feeling, where this is very much a bleak, like nothing's working feeling, where I don't get that same concept from the Seven of Pentacles in the RW. However, it does make me, it's that potato thing still sticks in my head where it's like everything looked great up above the ground, right? But underneath the crop was rotting. So I don't know, like a completely different concept, right? We already looked at the Hierophant in the previous video. So I'm not going to spend time reading on him. And then let's check out Saturn. Let's see what the Stars Divine says about Saturn. All right, so we have its planetary cycle is 29 years. It's that long, drawn out cycle, right? Saturn teaches discipline. It creates limitations in order to grow. It is a strict parent, offering great reward for a job well done. Responsibility, maturity, dedication, perseverance, and structures are among its features. Right, I'll bring it up close so you guys can see. That's beautiful. And it's interesting how there's roses happening, but these are beautiful and full bloom roses, right? Whereas on this card, it's not good looking roses. It's roses that are dying or not doing what they should do. All right, let's take a look here. We've got once again, remember on her wheel, we've got that extra energy that's kind of taking place and happening. Different cards that we can look at if you really want to understand the energies. We've got the King of Swords is the new one that's in. There's the RW. And in the Hermetic Tarot, here's the King of Swords, Prince of the Chariots of the Winds. Wow, there's a lot going on this card. All right, let's read about it though. I want to see what the Hermetic Tarot says about the King of Swords. Oh, I opened right to it and then all right, so let me get this up here so we can see it. All right. The King of Swords. A crowned king sits in a chariot drawn by fairies. There are pentagrams upon their youthful foreheads and also on their wands. They wear butterfly wings on their heads and feet. The king bears a sword and a sickle. With the swords he rules, and with the sickle he slays. Beneath the chariot are gray rain clouds. Above the king is the crest of a butterfly wing, angelic head with a pentagram on its forehead. Well, that's really interesting, eh? So here we have the head with the wings, the butterfly wings, the pentagram on its head. He's got the sickle and the sword. Everybody's got pentagrams on their foreheads. We've got these fairies down here, pulling them across on this gray card. Or on this gray cloud, sorry, on this gray cloud. Really, really cool. Interesting card. All right, so those are the extra energies. Once again, remember, we have the Ace of Pentacles is in place, the Princess of Pentacles, and the King of Swords. So those are just kind of the underlying energies. And then in the RW, the same, Ace of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles, and the King of Swords. So like I said, I'm just not going to go into those too much, but they're here if you want to tap into them. They're on the wheel, so we might as well acknowledge them. However, I don't want to overcomplicate things. And our main concentration is this card right here, right? This is the star of the show for the next 10 days. And then let's look at our moon. We're in a waxing crescent. So we have faith in your dreams. Well, when I look at it, I feel like the more and more we do this, the Moonology kind of doesn't suit into what we're doing and what's happening here. But it is a positive message because this does have kind of a doom and gloom feeling to it, right? Now that when you read how it is looked at, and it's just, a positive message saying, have faith in your dreams. It's going to take a long time for them to happen, but they'll eventually fall into place, right? So I feel like that's just kind of overall the message that's coming through with this card. So that is it. This is what's in place for the next 10 days, I believe. I'm going to get our dates here. Looking at the wheel on Susan's book. So we are the 7 of Pentacles. So this is in place from May 11th to May 20th. And we will be back May 21st for our next Decan, which at that time we are going to be in Gemini. So we're switching our suits, we're switching everything, right? So we're going to be switching it up and we're going to be doing something different. The King of Swords stays, the Ace of Pentacles stays, and as well as the Page of Pentacles stays for a while. All right, well, that's where we're at. So this is in place once again till May 11th, from May 11th to May 20th. And our next Decan will be, the next Decan video will be May 21st. So here's your next 10 days. Pay attention, see how this unfolds in your life. See if you can find those key factors and things to kind of click this in for you. I can already see how this is going to play out in my life. I mean, it might surprise me with a couple twists here and there, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is very much exactly what's going on in my life. I'm waiting for things to fall into place, and it's taking forever for the gift of generosity that was bestowed upon me and my husband in the Six of Pentacles is taking forever to fall into place. And it's like, come on now, like it's gotta, but it's something that's going to take a long time. Why? Because it's dealing with structure and the way things are, and it's a lot of paperwork and things just having to happen, and it's going to take forever for it to fall into place because there's a system in place that needs to be followed in order for it to happen, right? So I feel like that's how the Hierophant's coming into it. Found a better way to word it where it didn't get into too many personal stuff. And then it has to do with the ending of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. So this thing that we're waiting on, this is what it pertains to. It's that the ending of one chapter to begin another, and it's really quite a wonderful thing that's happening, but it's torturous because it's going to take such a long time for it to fall into place. So hopefully it all goes well. Hopefully everything's going good with you guys. Hopefully this all makes sense. And thank you for joining in. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys for the next one on May 21st.